What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharp. Welcome to this edition. I guess we'll call this the Hard R podcast. I will get to your chats and super chats here throughout the show. It is good to have you guys in today. I am freshly, for those of you guys who are unaware, I had a tooth pulled yesterday. Had my tooth pulled yesterday. There it is. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Dude, hairline is nice and tight. As you guys can see, I may or may not have had a procedure done. I'll just put it to you that way. But got a great show in store for you guys today. Got a great show in store for you guys tonight. Obviously, I'm going to be telling you guys. I'm going to be giving you guys 8 reasons, 8 signs you might be a black supremacist. And by the way, if we got any niggas in the chat, if you disagree, hashtag pull up. If you disagree, hashtag pull up. Listen, man, you are welcome to come on. You are welcome to come on to the channel and debate with me if you disagree with anything that I say. Listen, I only have people pull up. When I talk about nigga shit, when I talk about black people and the so-called black community. I welcome that discussion. And so, if you guys disagree with any aspect of what I'm talking about, you guys can hashtag pull up. And again, if you disagree, I know most of you listening probably do agree, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Sean Morris, member for 39. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. I done fucked up the sound. Hold up. Let me try that again. All right, here we are. Let's try that again. Sean Morris, member for 39 months, says this is going to be a great topic. Absolutely. I'm also going to break down another bold article. This author's name is Melanie Kernodle, and it's actually a very interesting article, laden with hamster droppings. You guys know how that goes. I'll break that down after I'm done with my main event. Let's go ahead and get this started. 8 signs you are a black supremacist. So it is plainly obvious that here in 2025, that the average rank and file black person is far more racist than the average white person. It's just a fact. It's a fact. Okay? It is very clear that these days, black people are far more racist than white people, and the main reason is obvious. They're allowed to be, right? Black people are routinely given a pass when they use racial slurs against not only white people, but other ethnicities as well. They routinely call other persons of color wetbacks, guidos, slant eyes, beaners, dot heads, towel heads. I mean, you name it, black people use it. George the Gun Walker says, hi, that reeks of troll. Anyone who comes in for the very first time and their very first words are hi, I'm always on the lookout. Tread carefully, George. Anyway, the reason why black people, niggas, the reason they so openly, willfully, and regularly use these terms, like I said, is because they're allowed to. Nobody checks black people when they start throwing around racial epithets, okay? This is online. This is in public, this is in real life, this is at work. Everywhere black people use racial slurs, nobody checks them. Now, on the other side of that coin, they know that if anyone uses a racial slur against them, all hell's going to break loose. They'll be canceled, shamed, fired from jobs, and all of the rest of that. It's essentially like 2 people in a boxing ring. A black person and a white person in a boxing ring. Okay? With the black person able to throw punches at will while the white person's hands are tied behind their backs, unable to defend himself. And to make matters worse, a substantial amount of black people actually think that black people can't be racist, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. The reason they say this, black people can't be racist, is to, again, give themselves permission to throw around derogatory racial slurs to the non-black people around them. But let a white person say white people can't be racist, everybody loses their minds. In fact, black people are the only race of people who say black people can't be racist. Do you hear Latinos talking about Latinos can't be racist? Do you hear Asians claiming Asians can't be racist? Do you hear any other race, color, or creed of people claiming they can't be racist? Of course not. Then, of course, I saw a video featuring Jesse Lee Peterson talking to a dude who had a book called Black Supremacy, featuring some dude who calls himself Dr. William James, which sounds suspect to me already. And as a side note, guys, I'm just going to ask this aloud. I'm just going to ask this aloud here. What is with these racist niggas calling themselves doctors? What's that about? This Dr. Bryant bitch who calls herself a dating coach. She's been on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay show a couple times. Niggas who want to falsely add some sort of like Dr. Jeremiah Wright. Remember his dumbass back during the Obama campaign? Racist pastor talking about white devils and this and that and the other. He called himself Dr. Wright. The fuck is that? It's like niggas who want to falsely add some sort of credibility to the bullshit they spew always just routinely call themselves a doctor, just like this bullshit Dr. William James. I mean, listen. Who knows? Maybe he's a real doctor. Maybe he is a real doctor. I don't know. But it would not surprise me if he was given an honorary PhD or got his doctorate, at some online university who's accredited by the likes of, I don't know, like a Bishop Sycamore High School or some fake school like that. Who knows? Dr. B84 says she allegedly has a PhD in psychology. Yeah, that's cap.
Stop the cap.
I'm calling cap. Anyway, Dr. William James, that's a very interesting name. I don't believe that dude's a doctor. Anyway, he wrote a book called Black Supremacy. No, I haven't read it. No, I never will because I already know it's a waste of time. The book did, however, give me the idea for today's topic, which is 8 signs you're a black supremacist. 8 signs you're a black supremacist. And before you niggas get your panties in a bunch and say there's no such thing as a black supremacist, that right there makes you a black supremacist. Because the number one sign you are a black supremacist is you think black people can't be racist. I think it is hypocritically comedic that niggas are all the time talking about equality and this and that. Yet, when it comes to the not so flattering things about the human condition, all of a sudden black people aren't capable of it. Niggas are just like women in this regard. And this is going to be a recurring theme here. They love to embrace all the positives while conveniently rejecting the negatives. For example, black women are quick to tell everyone that they're the most educated group of people in America, then turn around and say some dumb shit like black people can't be racist. Niggas say dumb shit like this to give themselves permission, again, to engage in hypocritical behavior. Like talking about how racist white people are, then turn right around and talk about how they're tired of crackers and wetbacks and chinks. Black people absolutely can and are extremely racist. And if you think black people can't be racist, you are a black supremacist straight up. Looks like I've already got someone who has pulled up. Jamie Herring, my friend, if you want to come on and discuss this with me, you are going to be on camera. I'm not going to talk to or debate someone who's not on camera. So you can either show yourself on camera or you can show yourself the fuck out. Because I am not dealing with anonymous ass niggas. You can either show yourself or you can show your way the fuck out. That's the way this is going to be. Number 2. The second sign you might be a black supremacist is you blindly defend black people. Believe it or not, guys, despite the overwhelming evidence that clearly implicates his absolute guilt, there are still niggas out here defending Diddy. And let's not get this twisted, gentlemen. Let's just get this out of the way. Diddy is as guilty as homemade sin. That dude is 431% guilty, and he is absolutely going to spend the rest of his life in prison, as he should. This case is so one-sided that Diddy's top attorney, Anthony Rico, has quit the case. Bet you didn't know that. That's right, guys. Diddy's top attorney, Anthony Rico, filed a motion to withdraw from the case this past Friday. Even he knows that the state has Diddy dead to rights. But because Diddy is black, there are always going to be some niggas who defend him till the end. These are the same people who told everybody that they thought Michael Vick was not guilty of dogfighting. In the Michael Vick case, the evidence was insurmountable. Yet, black people from the so-called black community lined up with their signs, defending Vick all the way up until he admitted that he did indeed engage in a dogfighting operation. Now, for the record, I think Michael Vick got hosed. He got hosed. Okay, we've got black people ending the lives of their children before they're born. But we want to get our panties in a bunch because Vic was involved in dogfighting. And listen, guys, I love dogs as much as the next person, but I love people more. And the fact that we threw a man in prison for fighting dogs longer than rapists, murderers, and PDF files is a gross miscarriage of justice. Vic was guilty as hell, there is no doubt. But he got absolutely railroaded, in my opinion. Anyway, black people like this clearly like to show a willful ignorance. They know Diddy's guilty. They've heard about the evidence that the prosecution has, and guys, that's only the stuff we know about. Never mind all the hard drives with terabyte after terabyte of videos of all of his sex crimes and these freak-offs. Never mind all the people who have come out and corroborated the rumors. Never mind that the hip-hop community as a whole had been hearing rumblings of Diddy's exploits for years. Never mind all of the former staff who have confirmed the rumors. Nope, we've still got niggas out here who think that they're de facto internet lawyers who like to throw around a bunch of legalese, trying to fool us into thinking they know something about the case that we don't. Here's another example. Michael Jackson. We still have black people out here acting like Michael Jackson didn't diddle these boys. Person after person came out and gave gross, detailed accounts of the abuse they suffered at the hands of Jackson at the Neverland Ranch. And of course, Michael settled with a lot of his accusers. And even still, black people are in my comments talking about Michael Jackson was framed. Here's another example. O.J. Simpson. Guys, O.J. killed Nicole, and we all know it. All of the evidence pointed to him. He had clear motive, plenty of opportunity, and time. No, his son didn't do it, and no, O.J. didn't have any help. He acted alone, and he killed both Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. You can talk about the gloves not fitting and all the rest of that, but what you don't know is that O.J. had severely arthritic hands and knuckles. You see, Johnny Cochran and F. Lee Bailey, his attorneys, instructed him not to take his arthritis medication for a little while so that his hands would swell up. So when Christopher Darden stupidly asked O.J. to try on the gloves, which, by the way, had shrank because they were kept in a plastic bag soaking wet, his hands didn't fit. That, coupled with an obviously biased jury looking to make an obvious statement, is the reason why Simpson walked. And a funny yet tragic thing is, and this is something that not many people are aware of, but after the verdict was read and the trial was over and O.J. was free to go, one of the jurors stand up and held his fist up high to indicate black power. The state of California never had a chance. Now, a lot of people think that had the trial been held in Simi Valley, which is a predominantly white county, rather than Los Angeles County, which has a much higher concentration of black people, that O.J. probably would have been convicted. We will never know. But the fact that 8 of the 12 jurors were black, including the one that stood up and held up his fist, indicating black power, that tells us all we need to know about what time they were on. For some crazy reason, black people from the so-called black community, they have a very difficult time admitting that black people have committed egregious crimes. It does the community a disservice when niggas blindly defend the accused simply because they're black. And if you fall into this category, you are absolutely a black supremacist. Number 3. The third sign that you might be a black supremacist, you endorse Black Lives Matter. Gentlemen, BLM is one of these organizations that had good intentions initially. And I really do believe that. But as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. In other words, there will always be unintended consequences. Unfortunately, like most things that black people are involved in, it's rife with corruption. Sir Major Page was sentenced to prison for defrauding donors out of over $450,000. He used that money for his own benefit. Zara Salem admitted to stealing money that was intended for a youth charity for what? Personal protective equipment. And then, of course, there are the lies. There's the propaganda. There's the race baiting that Black Lives Matter is mostly known for now. BLM is the most racially divisive organization in the world. It's gone from an organization that claims that it wants to end white supremacy and violence against black communities, but given their recent exploits, it looks like they want quite the opposite. So long as there are stories of racial injustice, BLM will stay in business. And let's not make any mistake about it. BLM is a business. BLM is in the business of racial division. If black people and white people were to all of a sudden start getting along, then Black Lives Matter would cease to exist. And BLM doesn't want that. Anyone who's been paying attention clearly understands that BLM seeks to divide Americans along racial lines. Everything that happens is because of white supremacy. Everything white people do is because they're racist. Every black person is a victim, and America is against black people. And the so-called black community has bought into this nonsense hook, line, and sinker. If you endorse Black Lives Matter and you cannot see the hypocrisy and corruption, then you, my friend, are a black supremacist. All right, let me read some of your chats here before I continue. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Listen, guys, if you're gonna pull up, you got to show your fucking face. I'm not about to debate with cowards. I'm not doing that. Kenty says, is Dr. Umar invited? He's welcome to come on if he wants. Nicole Joa says Donovan is 100% correct. Appreciate that. George the Gun Walker says I've been sub for a while now. I check your vids from time to time. Appreciate that, George. The Romarome, good to see you in here. Brand new, says if you don't practice medicine, you shouldn't be addressed as a doctor. Exactly. I totally agree with that. I swear to God, too many niggas call themselves doctor. It's crazy. Dr. B84 says, unlike those other alleged doctors, I actually went to medical school and trained to become a doctor. I even have to have my degree verified when I apply for a job. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Dr. B84 says, bruh, Diddy's lawyer just left him. The Upward Bound one says, your POS channel will be destroyed soon. Now that will be funny, like fresh and fit. Okay. Appreciate the engagement. Let's see here. Jack C. Golf So says, no Rodney King, OJ gets the death penalty. Yep, I agree. I totally agree. If not for the Rodney King thing, OJ would have absolutely been convicted. Mike Hawk has gifted one Donovan Sharp membership at Jethro Raffro to welcome him to the TSR family. As is customary of the very first channel member, let us go ahead and do a chat-wide age and location check. The reason why we do these is because you never know. Somebody, anybody who's watching this with you, they could live in your city, they could live in your neighborhood, they could live on your block, they could live on your street, they could live in your building. This is how we form communities of like-minded men, is when we do our age and location check in the chat. Jack C. Golf Show says OJ punched the floor before trial. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Mr. Wright says, I was there. OJ just knocked on the door. Yeah, that's funny. Dre Raven says, OJ searched every golf course he could find for the real killers. Yeah, come on, man. Like, dude, of course OJ did it. Jack C. Golf Show says, at the bar watching Dion's first CU game, and girl said black excellence, looked over and said to myself, that sounded racist. Well, I wouldn't say that. Kenty says, I respect Malcolm X. By the way, speaking of Malcolm X, there is going to be a season 4. There's going to be a season 4 of The Godfather of Harlem. So if you guys want to, like, and Malcolm X, well, was in The Godfather of Harlem, they're going to actually pick up season 4 right after the assassination of Malcolm X. I can't wait. Devin and I, we love that show. It's insane. It's insane. Alaskan K says, good to see you pushing boundaries and getting people butthurt. Haha, absolutely. Absolutely. Fartbox TV. Says, I'm dropping a video later on tonight. I'll be defending you against O'Shea Duke Jackson. Hey, that'll work. I appreciate that. Fartbox TV. That's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good. I might have to check out Fartbox TV. Fartbox TV. Oh, hang on. All right, very good. All right, let us continue. Let us continue with the 8 signs. Let us continue with the 8 signs you might be a black supremacist. Number 4, you call black women queens. The so-called black community is the only group of people who regularly call their women queens. But the ironic thing is that black women are not only the worst behaved, they're the least preferred. Okay? Every single dating app, without exception, routinely shows that black women are the least preferred by all races of men, and it's not particularly close. And the reasons they're at the bottom of the sexual totem pole are obvious. They're overweight, they've got an attitude problem, they're masculine, they think they're the heads of household, most of their children are born out of wedlock. I mean, the list goes on and on. Yet, the so-called black community wants to call these people queens. Let me let you guys in on a little secret. And I'm gonna tie this into this ridiculous notion of self-love. And listen, turn up the volumes on your phones, guys. My older listeners, turn up the volumes on your hearing aids. My younger listeners, open up a notes app because I'm about to drop some serious knowledge on you guys. I want you guys to listen very closely. Self-love for women is a myth, gentlemen. It does not exist. Let me repeat that. Self-love for women is a myth. It does not exist. Women are incapable of loving themselves unless a man loves them first. Let me repeat that. Women are incapable of loving themselves unless a man loves them first. This, gentlemen, is exactly why fathers are essential to the development of girls. This is why fathers are absolutely necessary, especially for little girls. You see, gentlemen, when little girls grow up without fathers, they do not get to experience the kind of male unconditional love that only a father can provide. When a little girl does have a father who is present and shows that he loves her unconditionally, that's when she develops real self-love. The kind of self-love that keeps her from seeking the kind of male attention that leads to promiscuous behavior. In the same vein, a woman can't just declare herself a queen. A woman doesn't become a queen unless a king appoints her. A lot of women in the so-called black community love to say, I'm a queen, give me my crown, girl, I'm a queen, yet none of them have a man. How the fuck are you a queen if you ain't got a man? Yeah, exactly. You ain't a queen. No, baby girl, you are not a queen unless a king claims you as his queen. You don't get to appoint yourself. Women ain't got that kind of power. And so in both cases, self-love and queen, guess what, gentlemen? Women are unnecessary. Men are necessary. A man is necessary for a woman to achieve self-love. She cannot do it alone. A man is necessary to make a woman a queen. She cannot do it alone. Unfortunately, the black women in the so-called black community, they don't realize this. This is why they're always preaching, I don't need a man. I'm a queen because I love myself. Really? How's that working out for you? I'll tell you how that's working out. 80% of you bitches are overweight or obese. 70% of you bitches are born to, 77% of your babies are born out of wedlock, meaning there's no father in the home. 32% of prisoners are black men, even though black men make up only 6% of the American population. 87% of black prisoners come from single mother homes, and 38% of abortions are performed on black women, despite making up only 7% of the American population. But you want to call these women queens? There is nothing queen-like about these people. And if you can't see that, you are a black supremacist. Straight up. Here we are. AAUDF Corp says, this is bullshit, selling out for real. This is great. This is great. We got a black supremacist in the house. We got a black supremacist in the house. And that leads me right into number 5. You use terms like sellout, coon, bootlicker, Uncle Tom. Dude, I get niggas in my comments all the time, like, out of corp, talking about Donovan's a bootlicker. Get this Uncle Tom out of here. Donovan's a sellout. Get this sellout out of here. The funny thing is that these terms have been used for ages. They really have. People that come in here in my chat or my comments expect the kind of reaction that implies that I've never seen or heard this stuff before. Donovan's a coon? Okay. I guess I'm supposed to be pissed? Donovan's a house nigger? I live in my own house and I answer to no one. That makes no sense. Black people from the so-called black community like to throw around these terms to shame black men from finally opening their eyes and getting off the plantation. Straight up. The idea is to make black men feel bad or guilty for not endorsing this toxic black culture. These names, these derogatory terms, they are designed to discourage us from dating outside our race. These derogatory terms are thrown around to shame us for rejecting democratic politics. All of these names are specifically designed to shame black men from breaking free from the so-called black community. It's as though the black community wants black men to stay in the black community and stagnate. They don't want us to be successful. They don't want us to be happy. They want us to be miserable right alongside them. And when a few of us reject this nonsense, we're met with the typical name calling that verifies that the so-called black community is allergic to prosperity. Any black person who uses derogatory remarks like this are absolutely black supremacists and only care about preserving the cesspool that is the so-called black community. Straight up. Number 6. The 6th sign that you might be a black supremacist is you use the term, he talks white. Oh boy. This is one of the most ignorant statements that the so-called black community has ever coined. And the first time I heard it was when I moved to Oklahoma after my mom jettisoned our family in pursuit of a crackhead in Detroit. Now, my dad was still in the military, but we didn't live on base. We went to Altus High School, which had a fair amount of military kids, but not the same concentration as Radford High School or Mauna Loa High School in Hawaii, right? Now, as you can probably imagine, there aren't many black people in Oklahoma, but the ones that did go to Altus High School had most certainly not heard a black person that talked the way I did. And so the first person who said this to me, and I'll never forget his name was Eric French. He told me, "Why do you sound like a white boy?" I just kind of shook my head in confusion because I had no idea what he was talking about. Then a little over a year later, my brothers and sisters and I became civilians for the very first time. And by civilians, I mean no longer living on a military base. To that point, we were raised on military bases only where everybody, regardless of race, spoke well. Now, to be fair, most of the black kids that we knew on base didn't speak as eloquently as my family, but by and large, they all spoke pretty well. They didn't sound like hood niggas, right? Well, the very first time I spoke in class in North Carolina, every black student turned and looked at me like I had 3 heads. And sure enough, I was asked, "Why do you talk like a white boy?" Guys, this is one of the many things wrong with the so-called black community. Any black person who speaks with intelligence is thought of as speaking white. It's as though they don't think we're capable as black people of speaking intelligently, speaking with pace, speaking with proper diction, speaking with voice inflections, and speaking with correct vocal intonation. The sad thing is that this clearly indicates that the black community at large thinks that speaking intelligently is reserved only for white people. And it's ironic because the so-called black community is constantly talking about white people this and white people that, yet here they are, indirectly indicating that black people do not have the intellect to speak in such a way that lets everyone know that they have at least a modicum of intelligence. So if you're the kind of person that says a black person who speaks well, speaks white, you are absolutely a black supremacist. Sign number 7. And listen, if you disagree, y'all can pull up. Y'all can pull up. What's your name in there? AAUD something or Odd of Corp says this bullshit selling out for real. Pull up, nigga. Pull up. Appreciate you. Number 7, the 7th sign that you might be a black supremacist. You often respond with, white people do it too. Guys, listen, man, nothing irritates me more than when someone points out the degeneracy of the so-called black community, someone always comments or argues, well, white people do it too. The fuck does that have to do with y'all? Every time somebody points out an unflattering truth about the so-called black community, some nigga is always pointing out some shit that white people do. Like when I talked about that Atlanta mother who literally cooked her 2 sons to death in the oven, some dumb nigga called into my show and said, have you ever heard of Susan Smith? And I said to him, what does Susan Smith have to do with a black woman who cooked her children to death? And he said, well, I just pointed it out to you to let you know that white people do it too. And once again, and I want you to listen carefully, once again, this is an indirect way the black community exalts and worships white people. When that dude pointed out that Susan Smith also ended the lives of her children in a gruesome way, it's as though he's saying that because white people do it, that it's okay for black people to do it. The other implication with the white people do it too argument is to somehow imply that things are this bad in every community, as if to imply that despite the degenerate cesspool that is the so-called black community, every other community faces the same issues. Guys, this is 6,742% false. The black community's problems are magnified tenfold for many reasons, not the least of which is that the black community is run by women. It's a matriarchy. And as we all know, anytime women are in complete control of anything, they destroy it. Themselves, their children, the families, the black community, you name it, they destroy it if they're in charge of it. But to get back to the white people do it too argument, any black person who uses this as trying to either skirt accountability for the fuckery in the black community or they're looking to justify the fuckery itself. If white people do it, then it must be okay for black people to do it. If white people do it, then things must not be that bad in the black community. That is absolute nonsense. Wrong is wrong, and I don't give a fuck what the race of the person or people doing it is. I don't care what other communities are doing. The black community is the scourge of the fucking earth, and everybody knows it. We're the laughingstock of the world. The so-called black community doesn't realize that their problems are magnified for so many reasons. Why else do you think it's a failed culture? American black culture is a failure, and no other race in America can say that. Just look at the other communities, and it's obvious. Black people need to stop comparing themselves to other communities to justify the fuckery. If you're a black person and you use the white people do it too argument, you're a black supremacist. And finally, the 8th and final sign, you might be a black supremacist. You are against interracial dating. Guys, I've said many times before that black people who have a problem with interracial dating are black people who are unable to date interracially. The best example of this is none other than the American black woman. American black women over the years have not hidden the fact that they do not like it when black men date non-black women. Let's get specific. It's the white girls. It's the white girls. And the reason they have a problem with it is because most of them, meaning 99.9% of them, they can't date non-black men. They can't do it. They can't do it. Think about it. Any black woman who can date outside her race never has a problem with a black man dating or marrying white women. Same with men. Any black man who can date outside his race never has a problem with black women who can date non-black men. I'll use myself as an example. Clearly, I'm with a white woman, right? And I could not give less of a shit if any black woman dates a white guy, Asian guy, Hispanic guy. I don't care. Now, the main reason I don't care is because I'm just not attracted to most black women. Like, for me to be sexually attracted to a black woman, she's got to be exquisite. And even then, I have to see how she talks, how she acts, her mannerisms, and so forth. But the other reason I don't care that some black women date out is because I've always been able to date outside my race. The so-called black community acts like it's so appalled that more and more black men are choosing non-black women. But what they don't realize is that they're the reason that black men are starting to leave the plantation. The so-called black community endorses and even encourages the very behaviors that make American black women unattractive to all races of men. But here's something that the black community would never acknowledge. Listen very closely. Most black men are in relationships with black women. That's right, guys. Better than 95% of black men in America are in relationships with black women. So now the question becomes, well, why are black women so up in arms about only 5% of black men dating non-black women? Well, the answer to that is very simple. That 5% that's dating out, that's the top 5%. Look no further than professional athletes, gentlemen. A lot of pro athletes are married to black women, but a lot more of them appear to be married to non-black women, including the GOAT himself, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Then, of course, detractors of interracial dating like to use the argument, well, what about nation building? Fuck out of here with that. You people exalt a degenerate culture that is destroying American black people at an accelerated rate. But you want us to believe that you give a shit about nation building? Nah, You people just want us to be miserable, just like you. Niggas that try to shame dudes like me for dating out just want me to be miserable dating the Shaniquas just like you. Fuck that. If it ain't snowing, I ain't going. You can have all those overweight, loud, black-ass women with the fucking attitude with 4 baby daddies. The members of the so-called black community watching this, we know you're not really against interracial dating. We know that you're not, okay? You are simply against black people being happy. You prove it every day by disparaging anything positive black people do that doesn't involve niggas. Y'all talk shit about those of us who date out, and you're allergic to prosperity. And when it comes to our relationships, you want us to be miserable too. So if you are black and you are against interracial dating, you are a black supremacist. Point blank fucking period. All right. Shout out to Jay Dawson with the $21 super chat, with the $21 Cash App. Jay Dawson with the $21 Cash App says, thank you for everything you do. I appreciate that, Jay Dawson. Thank you very, very much for that. Let me read y'all's comments and super chats here. The L Factor with the $10 super chat says, everything you just said is 100% true. Appreciate that very, very much. Dr. B84, member for 59 months. Says 5 years of membership is crazy, man. I'm old as fuck. I remember becoming a member back when I lived in Michigan 5 years ago. Life was quite different back then. Dr. B84 also adds, you have to speak nigga. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm proficient in nigga, but I'm not fluent in nigga. You know what I'm saying? Phoenix Light Games with the $20 super chat. Says black supremacists are nothing more than niggas shaming black men into accepting degeneracy as the norm in the black community, keeping us from dating outside our race and not being accountable for our own failures. Oh my God. Phoenix is coming with the heat. He clearly woke up and chose violence. Phoenix Light Games adds a $10 super chat, says niggas like to argue in subjectivity rather than objectivity. Another sign that the black community is a matriarch. Niggas see the world from the American black woman's lens rather than its objective lens of black men. Wow. Good Lord. PLG coming with the heat. Love this shit. Very, very good. Fartbox TV, that is just, that to me, that is, I love it. That's great. Fartbox TV says it's Queen Serena now, not Queen Latifah. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. EXO says, the title is crazy. You have my sub now. Appreciate that. 2BJJ Jones says, I pride myself in never calling a black woman a queen. Never have, never will. Nope. Not unless she's a real one. Jaxie Golf Show says, they said you're a kingpin. I don't know no kings, and I ain't no fucking pen. Mr. Tommy Nidaless, Mr. Big Yeah. Run Like the Wind says, my nigga decrees racism while being a flamin' racist. Damn. Well, listen, Run Like the Wind, if you think I'm a racist, come on and tell me about it. Pull up. Hashtag pull up. I mean, any nigga can say anything. Rack 90 says, Donovan, love the Roy Jones Jr. t-shirt. Absolutely. Roy Jones Jr. is one of the GOATs. He's one of the most entertaining fighters ever. One of the most entertaining, probably a very underrated defensive fighter. He's up there with Floyd Mayweather and Pernell Whitaker. Shozan Hanma says, I get Oreo and whitewash. Dude, I get that all the time. Are you an Oreo? Are both your parents black? Nigga, I'm black. Both my parents are black. What the fuck's wrong with you? Yeah, Jack C. Golf says, calls a white adult boy or girl? Absolutely. Absolutely. Sean Moore says, what about the whites, though? Yeah, right, exactly. Shozan Hanma says, question, only pull up I got is Don agreeing with Myron's white outfit skit? Everything else was on point, but no black men should wear that hood. This is coming from a former Paying Sharp stream member too. I didn't know. I don't know what you're talking about with the hood or anything. Mr. Pitt says, O'Shea, he's talking to you. Man, O'Shea's a nigga for real. I ain't worried about that. Joseph Ferguson says, first you get the money, then you get the power. Finally, you get any woman you want. Absolutely. Absolutely. Osbel Reyes says, no ratcheting here. Damn right. Devin Sharp, member for 53 months. Devin, come on, Jesus Christ. Devin, how are you a member? Devin, you shouldn't be paying no $5 a month to be a See, this is why, dude, this is why my bitch is ride or die. My bitch is ride or die. Dude, my own woman is a member of my channel. Incredible. Ice Dragon Kid with the $50 super chat. Says, keep cooking. I usually keep my budget tight, but I gotta pay the tuition. You know it. You know it. You already know what time it is, man. I gotta cook these niggas. Gotta cook these niggas. Phoenix Light Games with the $10 super chat says, black women hate Pearl because not only is she pursued by successful black men, they highly respect her and speak highly of her. Women who are respected by men of value are hated by the majority of low-value women. You goddamn right. You're goddamn right. You guys already know what time it is. All right, guys, it's time for the second part of the show. We're going to go a little bit old school. And we are going to break down an article on bold.com. Now, you guys know that bold.com is full of articles that more or less encourage women to make bad decisions, right? The likes of Amy Horton, Janelle Testa, more recently Carrie Carmody, all justify their ridiculous decisions. The latest article that I broke down from Bold, I broke down from Bold was Carrie Carmody telling everyone, I don't want to have kids. But you know, my boyfriend and I are not using birth control. And she proceeded to wax poetic about how she knows it's a bad decision and she knows it's risky, but she likes risky sex. Well, this article is sort of in the same vein, and this was actually submitted by Larry T. And the article is a few years old, but it is absolutely positively apropos. So here we go. When you're in a relationship, she starts, with someone for a few years, things can start to get stale if you're not careful. This was happening with my guy, and I didn't even realize it. At some point, I let my ego grow so big that I almost left the love of my life. I was in a relationship with my potential forever person, but I thought it was so much fun. I thought I was so much better than him, and I almost lost him because of it. Here is how I let my ego get in the way, and what you should do, and what you should avoid doing at all costs if you want your relationship to last. Okay, so right out of the gate here, guys, she starts to qualify her statement. Okay, a man is either the love of your life or he is not. And it's a safe assumption that when she wrote this article, she was still with him. But 3 sentences in, she qualifies the label and starts to hedge when she says potential forever person. Remember that? So which is it, Melanie? Is he the love of your life or is he the potential love of your life? because those are two very different things. Well, of course, now we know that he was Mr. Potential because they're no longer together. Well, how do I know this? Well, she wrote an article entitled a year and a half later, "Why Do All the Good Guys Seem to Be Taken?" So she's with the potential love of her life, and then she says, "Why do all of the good guys appear to be taken?" So rather than looking at this as though it almost cost a relationship, we're going to look at this. We're going to look at it that it actually did end a relationship. Okay. Now, guys, before we get into this, okay, let me remind you that if you like my content, please like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. And while I'm at it, guys, follow me on all my social media. At Donovan Sharp TSR is where you can find me on Instagram. Rumble.com/Donovan Sharp is where you can find me right after the show. We are going to be reacting to season 3, the season 3 reunion of The Ultimatum, and it is going to be pretty explosive, I'm told. At TSR Donovan is where you guys can find me on X. How to Relationship is where you can find me on Facebook. Guys, be sure to join the Discord. If you have an article or a video that you'd like to suggest for a topic, Discord is the best way to do it. When you join Discord, send me a private message and I will give you volumes 1 through 5 of the books of Womanese. This is over 625 translations from start to finish, top to bottom. The Revolutionary Books of Womanese, volumes 1 through 5. You get it absolutely free when you join Discord. All right, let's continue. Number 1, she says, "I thought I was too good for him. Somehow," she says, "my ego got the best of me and I started thinking I was way too good to be spending my time with him. He was great. He was a great, kind, loving guy, and honestly, the kind of guy that any girl would kill to be with, but my ego told me I was the best thing since sliced bread, so I started to believe that I could do better. I told myself that I was so much better than him, when in reality, I really didn't deserve his love." No, sweetheart. See, it wasn't your ego. It was not your ego that got the best of you. Okay, it was all the attention you were getting from men. Guys, women who have huge egos are women who get a lot of attention from men. It doesn't come from anywhere else but male attention. But this is where women make one of the biggest mistakes of their lives. And this is conflating sexual attraction for relationship attraction. I talk about this all the time. Melanie thought that because men wanted to hook up with her, those men also wanted to commit to her. Now, to be fair, she was in her 20s. And women in their 20s get both sexual attention, which leads to men also wanting to commit to her because they're trying to lock down, a young female, as all men try to do at some point in their lives, right? But that wasn't the only factor. The other factor is our culture, guys. Our culture glorifies women for literally nothing. If you've got 2X chromosomes, you're amazing. You're special. You're unique. You're awesome. Well, why is she so amazing? She's just a woman. OMG, misogynist. She's amazing. Girls are taught since birth that they are these special otherworldly beings that deserve the world simply because they're girls, and it escalates from there. Then when they get with a guy, they're always thinking, can I do better than him? Because she's been told that she deserves the best of everything simply for showing up and being. Then, of course, she waxes poetic about how kind and loving her boyfriend is and about how any girl would kill to be with him. She's lying. Not about the kind and loving part, but about girls killing to be with guys like this. Well, why wouldn't a girl want to be with a kind, loving guy? Because a man that a female describes as kind and loving is a man who is looked at as weak. Let's break out our Womanese translator and decipher what women say they wanted a man that are only exhibited by weak men. I want a man who lets me be me. Translation, I want a man who allows me to walk all over him, misbehave, and disrespects him. I want a man who accepts me for who I am. Translation, I want a man who doesn't care that I'm overweight, have a bad attitude, and can't cook. I want a man who respects my privacy. Translation, I want a man who makes it easy for me to cheat on him. So when Ms. Kernodle talks about her kind and loving boyfriend, she's talking about a weak man, which segues right into number 2. I gave my attention to other guys who wanted me. Oh, boy. Yeah, I was in a serious relationship, but when other guys started hitting on me, she said, I felt flattered. I liked it and even thought I liked it. And even though I knew it was wrong, I let them keep doing it because it made my ego feel better. I thought I was hot stuff because so many guys wanted my attention. I didn't stop to think how it would affect my relationship. I almost dumped the love of my life for some fling or one night stand. Luckily, I realized what I was doing and changed my actions before things got to a breaking point. And now we are starting to understand why she is having trouble finding a man. She's a serial cheater, gentlemen. Like most attractive American women, she's a serial cheater. Did you guys see how she just dismisses the commitment? Did you guys see how she said, yeah, I was in a serious relationship, but when other guys started hitting on me, I was flattered. Remember that? So even though she acknowledges that she was in a serious relationship, her female hindbrain prioritized flattery from other men even though she knew it was wrong. This just goes to show that not only are today's women incapable of controlling their impulsiveness and need for validation, they don't want to. Even if they could control it, they would choose not to. Then she tries to make us think that she regrets her actions by saying, I didn't stop to think about how it would affect my relationship. Sure you did. You knew it was wrong, remember? So what she's trying to do here is she's trying to convince us that she stopped. That if she had stopped and thought, sleeping with all these guys probably isn't good for my relationship, so I better stop, then she would have never had all of those flings and one-night stands. But not to worry. She stopped cheating just in the nick of time before things got to a breaking point. Oh, you mean like the 23-year-old I talked about a while back who slept with her best friend's boyfriend, then just magically woke up and realized that what she was doing was wrong? Or was it because she pissed a plus sign and realized that she was in a real-life episode of the Maury Povich Show? So here's lesson number 1, gentlemen, and I want you to listen closely. Women never stop cheating because they realize what they're doing is wrong. Let me repeat that. Women never, ever stop cheating because they all of a sudden realize that what they're doing is wrong. No, they stop because they get caught or they get pregnant. Short of those two things happening, women feel not 1 ounce of guilt for stepping out on their boyfriends or husbands. So any female who says that she realized that what she was doing was wrong is telling you a half-truth. She only did the right thing when she got caught doing the wrong thing. Never forget that. Let's go to number 4. I took him for granted. She continues. Why is it that when we get something really great, we take it for granted? I was so lucky to be dating one of the sweetest, greatest guys around, and all of my friends even told me so. But instead of feeling grateful, I made it seem like it was no big deal. I didn't appreciate all of the things he did for me on a daily basis and how much he cared about me. I let my ego take over, and I completely ignored all of the wonderful things this guy was doing in my life. A while back, I saw a meme that said, men socialize by busting each other's balls, which is making fun of each other, and women socialize by complimenting each other, and neither means it. Melanie's friends all told her she had an awesome boyfriend, and that he was the sweetest, greatest guy around. But Melanie's friends also knew that he was weak. Again, she used the language sweetest and greatest, and we defined what that really means earlier. Now, don't misunderstand me here, guys. I'm not saying that her friends didn't mean what they said. But as females, they clearly understood who and what he was. And I can guarantee you that none of her friends had boyfriends like him because women just don't like weak men. Her friends were fucking the bad boys, the a-holes, the douchebags, like every other attractive woman in her 20s. And then, of course, she talks about all the little things he did for her on a daily basis that showed her how much he cared about her. But then she wonders why she took it for granted and acted like it was no big deal. Well, the answer to her question is simple. Because he did not make her earn it. You see, this is the problem with today's men, gentlemen. They reward their girlfriends and their significant others with gifts and praise and trips and all this other stuff for no other reason but that they're women who allowed them to have sex with them. Dudes are so happy just to have a girl who lets them have sex with her and pretends to be committed to him that they just lose their mind and start doing things that kill her attraction. Like writing love letters on Post-it notes or having flowers delivered to her job just because, and telling her how great she is all the time and all the rest of that nonsense that Disney movies and The Bachelorette tells them that this is the way to keep a woman attracted to you. What ends up happening, gentlemen, is that women take it for granted and don't appreciate it. Why? because she didn't work for it. And as we all know, women only value what they are required to work for. This is why women don't respect the commitment of a man who gives it to her after a week and a half. She thinks to herself, all I did was hook up with him a few times and he already wants me to meet his parents. So here's lesson number 2, and I want you guys to really listen. Never, and I mean never, ever, ever, deprive a woman the privilege of working for your commitment. Gentlemen, women want to work for your commitment because they want to know it's worth something. If you just give it to her for nothing but a few nights of bedroom fun, she's not going to value what you've given to her. Don't buy your girlfriends expensive gifts. Don't take her on these extravagant dates just because she's your girlfriend. Don't leave love letters or write her songs or poems or any of that other nonsense you see on TV. The best gift you can give your woman is your time and your attention. Now, I'm not saying that you should never reward your woman, okay? I reward my girl when she deserves it, but I don't do it often and I don't do it for nothing. If you give a woman something she has not earned, she is going to take it for granted and act like it's not a big deal, just like Miss Kernodle here. I can't blame her for this one, okay? This one's on her ex. Let's go to the next one. Number 5, I stopped putting effort into our relationship. I stopped putting effort into our relationship. I let myself think that our relationship wasn't worth anything, and that's exactly how I started to treat it. I didn't put any effort into fixing our problems or changing my behavior. I simply let things slide downhill. I stopped doing the little things like saying, I love you, or giving him a kiss goodbye. I didn't even try to rekindle the passion that we had in the beginning of our relationship. Honestly, she says, I didn't care if everything we had gone up in flames because I was so involved in my ego and thinking I was the best. Not much to say here, really, to be quite honest with you, because it just reinforces what I explained, what she said here in number 3. And she verifies it by saying, I let myself think that our relationship wasn't worth anything. When men treat women like queens, this is what happens, okay? I will also reinforce that you should never, ever, ever be the first to angle for a relationship first. I talk about this all the time, guys. When you're the first to broach the topic of exclusivity with a woman you are seeing, your leverage goes right out the window. You can't set expectations. You can't set boundaries. You can't let her know what you will or will not tolerate. You can't do any of that stuff. Her ex-boyfriend, Melanie's ex-boyfriend, obviously made this mistake, and then he showered her with gifts and attention, which is exactly why she didn't feel like putting any effort into the relationship. Why would a woman work for something she's already getting for free, for nothing? Why would she make an effort to keep something she was able to get with no effort? That's it. She won't. Let's move to the next one. Number 6, I told myself he wasn't worth my time. My ego made me believe that this guy wasn't worth my time because he wasn't some big shot, super successful businessman that I thought I deserved. I told myself that because of his background or his job title, he was below me, which was completely messed up. That's a terrible thing to think about anyone, especially the person that you are in a relationship with, and it makes me sick to even admit that I even thought that. Thankfully, I realized how wrong I was, and I managed to save my relationship and ditch my nasty ego. Guys, this is where she is completely wrong about feeling he wasn't worth her time, at least in this regard, right? Yes, he committed first. Yes, he gave her gifts and attention without making her work for it, which is another issue in and of itself, and we've already covered that, okay? But what she's feeling guilty about is something she should not feel guilty about, and that is not being attracted to a man whose perceived value is lower than hers. A woman's hard drive will not allow her to be attracted to or sexually aroused by a man whose perceived value is lower than hers. A woman can only truly love a man who is superior to her. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he has to make more than she does. A girl could make $50K a year dating a man who's completely broke if he's the lead guitarist of a popular local band, like our friend Dave, right? Dave, the unemployed garage band guitar player, he's got status, he's got social proof, he's got pre-selection, which more than makes up, for the difference in what they make. The same girl who could be dating a guy who only makes $25,000 a year, but if he's 6'4" with washboard abs and a square jaw, the attention he gets from other women more than makes up for that $25,000 difference. Miss Gernodal, unfortunately, is a victim of feminism attempting to reprogram her hard drive, but it didn't work. It never works. The culture says that women should love men regardless of their value, but it does not work that way, nor should it. Just like men aren't sexually attracted to women who are beautiful on the inside, but looks like Janelle Testa on the outside. Doesn't work that way, nor should it. Her thinking he wasn't worth her time because of his perceived value was lower than hers doesn't make her a terrible person. It makes her a woman. So here's lesson number 3, gentlemen. The dating market doesn't give a damn about what's fair and what's not. It doesn't care that you're short. It doesn't care that you're balding. It doesn't care that you have a face only a mother could love. Men are drawn to youth and beauty, and women are drawn to status and resources. Okay? They are drawn to status and resources. That's always the way it's been, and that's always the way it will be. Men who check out of the dating market because they're too lazy to increase their value in areas they can control are just like women who give up on men because they're too lazy to hit the gym. Guys only want 10s. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Let's go to the next one. Other people told me I was better than him. She continues. Some people even validated the nasty thoughts that my ego was telling me. When I look back now, I know that some of those people weren't really my friends and they didn't have my best interests in mind when they were telling me that, but that didn't stop me from believing them at the time. Because what they were saying made my ego even bigger, I believed them and let it blind me to how great a guy I really had. Guys, she just contradicted herself, like all women do. Okay? So she says her friends told her that she was better than he was. But then earlier she says, I was so lucky to be dating one of the sweetest, greatest guys around, and all of my friends even told me so. So which is it? Did your friends tell you that you were better than him, or did they tell you he was the greatest guy ever? Well, the answer is that it doesn't matter. What Melanie is doing here is what all women do when it comes to rationalizing their bad decisions, and that is blame shifting. She wants us to think that she has all of these wonderful friends because that validates her as a person and gives her social proof. But then she wants us to think that her friends led her astray by telling her that she was better than her ex. She wants us to think her friends blew up her ego, which indirectly removes part of her responsibility. And remember, guys, at this point, she wants us to think she almost left the love of her life. But again, we know she's not with him anymore, so she ended up leaving him. We already know that. And here's another thing. She keeps using the word ego, right? But that's not the reason she blew up her relationship. She blew up her relationship because A, she's the typical American female who gobbled bananas through her 20s, and B, her boyfriend had a lower perceived value than she did. So ego didn't end this relationship, okay? Promiscuity and being a whore did. Let's continue. My ego turned me into someone I didn't even like. Because I had such high opinions of myself and thought I was so awesome, I became someone who did things that I would not normally have done. I started talking about myself too much. I wanted attention from guys, and I wasn't acting like someone who is loving, caring, and humble. When I finally took a step back and looked at what I had been doing, I realized I was turning into someone who was capable of cheating on their boyfriend, and that was definitely not someone I ever wanted to be. And it finally shook me enough to realize how much damage I was doing to my relationship and the man I really loved. No, sweetheart, you didn't turn into someone you didn't like. You were always this way. And so are most modern women. Girls always talk about themselves too much. They always want attention from guys. Young, attractive women are anything but loving, caring, and humble because they don't have to be. And to say that she was never capable of cheating, that is disingenuous because, again, she was always this way. She wants us to think that she was this paragon of virtue who would never be so selfish or solipsistic. She wants us to think that she was this loving, caring, humble female who would never succumb to male attention and step out on her man. But she was always this way, and she knows it. I've never seen retroactive snowflaking before. But here she is trying to convince us that she acted completely out of character when she conducted herself the way she did. Suffice it to say, we ain't buying it. Number 9, I didn't see how our relationship was falling apart. Oh, really? As As I let my ego grow and kept thinking about how awesome I was and how much I deserved, I didn't realize that my relationship was falling to pieces all around me. I didn't see the intimacy started to fizzle out. Our conversations became forced and depressing, and I definitely didn't see how much it was affecting him and hurting him. Actually, when I think about it, maybe I did see all of those things, but my ego told me to ignore them, which was even worse. Do you guys see how she tried to act like she didn't see that she was hurting a boyfriend and then kept it real in the end and admitted that she did see these things but decided to ignore them? She absolutely saw what was happening. She just didn't give a fuck, and that's all there was to it. But let's rewind a little bit here, guys. Let's rewind a little bit because I've noticed something, guys. If you're paying attention, you're starting to see that this entire article is one giant blame shift. She keeps blaming her bad decisions on her ego, right? She's not saying I ignored them. She's saying my ego told me to ignore them, as if to say it is something outside of herself telling her what to do. And remember, earlier she said my ego made me believe that this guy wasn't worth my time. I let my ego take over. Do you guys see how she is trying to distance herself from her ego as if her ego is its own entity? An independent being separate from her that makes its own decisions and influences her. The title of the article is I almost left the love of my life because of my ego. Guys, she's blaming her ego for the demise of a relationship. She never takes responsibility herself. She isn't saying I cheated on him or I was a bad girlfriend. She keeps saying my ego told me to cheat on him. My ego told me to be a terrible girlfriend. Miss Kernodle is not taking responsibility for her actions, gentlemen. She's blaming her ego. And then she talks about her ego in such a way that implies that it's almost another person. Like the way she describes her ego would lead us to believe that it is completely separate from her. Now I give her full marks for the way she's doing this. I'll give her an E for effort. Rationalization or not, I have never seen this level of blame shifting. But this is why you have to pay attention to what women say and read between the lines. Because if you don't, you could be sitting in front of a woman giving you the same story in the same way. Guys, this is exactly why men need to buy Womanese. That you need to enroll in Womanese, guys. You need to enroll in Womanese, and if you don't want to, fine. Join the Discord and you'll get the books of Womanese, volumes 1 through 5. Otherwise you'll be blindsided. But instead of holding her accountable for her actions, you subconsciously absolve her because she's done such a great job separating herself from her ego, which makes you think that she was just an innocent bystander while her big bad ego controlled her mind and made her do horrible things she wouldn't normally do.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap, Melanie. Let's continue. I thought I could break hearts and not get caught. I made myself believe that I was so awesome and invincible that it wouldn't matter if I broke his heart. I went around acting like I was the best thing in town and not caring how it hurt my partner. I seriously thought I was invincible, that nothing could stop me from doing what I wanted. I was so wrong. Not only did my actions hurt him, they also hurt me. What she's describing here, gentlemen, is her abundance mindset back then and her scarcity mindset today. And let me explain what this means. When she was in her 20s, Melanie didn't care about breaking hearts because there was always going to be another guy she could swing to, right? Who cares if she gets caught cheating? Who cares if he tells everyone? Who cares if he tells everyone she's disloyal? She's still young and pretty enough for guys to dismiss all of those things, right? Like anything else in life, the more valuable you are, the more people are willing to tolerate your baggage. The better a salesperson you are, the more willing your employer will be to look past the fact that you're late 3 days a week or that you don't come to all the meetings. This woman could break hearts and not pay the price back then, but now that she's in her 30s, she's experiencing the consequences. You see, young, pretty girls can get away with just about anything when they're young and pretty. But as soon as they hit that attraction wall, dudes do not give them as much leeway, if any at all. Melanie was indeed invincible in her 20s, but now in her 30s, not so much. Let's continue. My perspective clouded my judgment. From where I stood, she continues, the relationship was looking pretty sad and I thought I deserved better. So I let that perspective convince me that I could do things that I wouldn't normally do. I flirted with other guys and was careless about being honest with my partner. I thought I was in a crappy relationship when I was when really I was the one being crappy. If I only changed my perspective, I would have seen how much this was ruining the best relationship of my life. Good thing I finally got a grip on reality and realized what I was doing before I let the whole thing blow up in smoke. I'm so grateful that I did because I'm still with that guy and he is seriously the love of my life and I never want my ego to get in the way of our relationship again. There she goes with the blame shifting. But this time, it wasn't her ego that made her do it. No, this time it was her perspective. She said, I let that perspective convince me I could do things I wouldn't normally do. No, sweetheart. You convinced yourself that you could do things that you always do. Again, she's trying to make us think that she's this decent woman, okay, filled to the brim with moral fiber until her big, bad perspective seduced her into flirting and fucking other guys and cheating on her boyfriend. Now, to her credit, she takes a little bit of accountability by actually owning the fact that she could have changed her perspective. But this was by accident. This was by accident because she said she wouldn't. She said she would have seen that she was ruining her relationship as if to imply that she was just completely blind to the fact that she was being a terrible girlfriend. Then she says, well, it's a good thing I finally got a grip on reality. That's not what happened. He might have caught her cheating, which probably shocked her back into reality. She may have had a pregnancy scare or might have actually gotten pregnant and gotten an abortion, and that shook her enough to make her stop cheating. I mean, it could be any number of things. So while I don't know what really made her snap out of it, I know what didn't, and it's her. Again, guys, women never stop bad behavior because they all of a sudden realize the error of their ways. It's usually something that prevents them from getting away with whatever they're doing. And because they don't want to be alone, they stop. And I love how she went completely hyperbolic and said that he is seriously the love of my life, which is a telltale sign that he seriously is not. Which leads me to lesson number 4, which is also law number 24 of the 49 Laws of Sharp. The more a woman tries to convince you of something, the less likely it's true. Women have told me they're happily married, but then 2 hours later, they're on their knees in front of me. Women who say things like, he is seriously the love of my life, or I am happily married, aren't trying to convince you. They're trying to convince themselves, which is exactly why they use hyperbolic adjectives when describing their relationships. If I had a nickel for every wife I fucked who told me that she was happily married, I'd have a lot of fucking nickels. Then, of course, right at the end, once again, she removes blame from herself one more time for good measure by saying that she'll never let her ego get in the way of her relationship, as if to imply that her ego is something separate from her. Well, we now know that her ego reared its ugly head again because they are no longer together. Incredible. Incredible. All right. Oop. I hate it when it does that. Let me read you guys' chats, and then we will make the switch. I can smell Devin's. Oh, I can smell her shampoo from here. I think that's her shampoo. James Sharp says, I've read all of your Womanese books. They have greatly helped Mr. Sharp. Appreciate that. Sam Zane says, I can give her a watch. Those free ones in the mail. That's all the time I can give. Yeah, P-dubs. R.I.P. Gene Hackman. Yeah, Gene Hackman's death was a little fishy, man. That's a little fishy. Jason Warren says, just got home from work. Got you going on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch. Watch from the beginning. Crimson Eclipse says, there is no ego, it's her. It always has been, absolutely. The Level Up Man says she's trying to put on an illusion of taking accountability, but is actually shifting the blame on her ego as if there was a force beyond her control that made her do it. Dude, I'm trying to tell you, man. It was obvious. To me, it was obvious from the start. All right, guys. We have reached the end of the show. We've reached the end of the show. We are in and out in a tidy 1 hour and 15 minutes. I don't know why I'm yawning. Holy God. But we are about to there we go. So for those of you we are about to switch it on over to Rumble. We are about to switch it on over to Rumble, where we are going to react to the last episode, the reunion episode. Fartbox TV says, "Great show, Donovan. I enjoyed it." Yeah, I'm gonna check out your video defending me against O'Shea. Appreciate that. But come on over to Rumble. Come on over to Rumble, rumble.com/Donovan Sharp, where we will be reacting to the reunion. And subsequently, we will be doing the Instagram check. We always do the social media check after the seasons of these dating show breakdowns, and after these dating show breakdowns, and it's always fun to find out what the general public thinks about this. So, all right, let me go ahead and start knocking stuff off here. Oh, okay. YouTube. God, yes, confirm. Okay, there you go. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook. Going to say goodbye to Twitch. Going to say goodbye to X. And, of course, I'm going to say goodbye to YouTube. So, guys, come on over to Rumble, rumble.com/Donovan Sharp. We are about to react to the reunion for the ultimatum. See you in a bit.